Meng Jiao lived in the Tang dynasty from 751 to 814, and he never had it easy. He failed the imperial exam again and again before finally passing in his late 40s. His poetry is famous for being stark, intense, and more than a little bitter. Other Tang poets wrote about moonlight and wine. Meng Jiao wrote about hunger, grief, and things that do not soften. People called his style cold and thin, harsh on the surface but deeply felt underneath. Su Shi once joked that reading Meng Jiao feels like chewing on a fishbone. But that spareness is exactly what gives his work its unforgettable edge. Today's poem shows that edge. It is about a dream that vanishes and leaves you empty. The poem is called Mount Wu High, Part 1, from the Drum and Pipe Songs. Mount Wu sits along the Yangtze River in what is now Sichuan province. Its 12 peaks are famous for sheer green cliffs and clouds that never stop drifting through the gorges. For centuries, travelers passing through the gorges felt impossibly small against that enormous landscape. Here is the first couplet. At Mount Ba the upper gorges fold on fold. Yangtai's green precipices, the 12 peaks. Right away you feel the sheer weight of all that rock piling up endlessly. The Chinese repeats the word fold, chong fu chong, doubling the sense of endless layers. Now the poem shifts to legend. When the King of Chu hunted, he met evening rain. At night, lying on the high hill, he dreamed of the goddess. This refers to a very famous story from Song Yu's Rhapsody on Gaodang, written centuries earlier. The King of Chu fell asleep on Mount Wu, and the mountain goddess came to him in a dream. In the legend, the goddess told the king she comes as morning clouds and leaves as evening rain. Morning clouds and evening rain became one of Chinese literature's most famous images. It carries longing and desire and the impossibility of ever holding on. Meng Jiao does not retell the whole story. He drops you straight into the moment. The third couplet is the most sensual and delicate passage in the entire poem. Light red drifting smoke moistens her beautiful form. That is the goddess taking shape. Moving clouds fly away, bright stars grow sparse, and she is already dissolving. The image is all texture, color, moisture, movement, and the slow fading of light. The phrase moving clouds, Xing Yun, echoes the goddess's own words from the Gaodang legend. She said she would come as cloud and rain, and here she literally dissolves into cloud. The stars thinning out means the dream is ending and the magical hour is over. What is left is just cold mountain and a sky going dark above the river. The final couplet delivers the emotional blow. Eyes straining, soul breaking, gazing but cannot see. 3 cries of the gibbon, tears soak the clothes. The king wakes up, the goddess is gone, and he stares into the void. For characters, mujihun Handuan, pack exhaustion, longing, and despair into one single breath. The gibbon's cry was a familiar image in classical Chinese poetry about the Yangtze gorges. Travelers knew the sound, loud, mournful, echoing through the cliffs for miles. A Tang saying went, of 3 gorges and 800 li of river, only the gibbon's cry remains. Meng Jiao puts that cry right after the waking dream, and it shatters the silence. Notice how the poem moves from geology to mythology to raw, undecorated emotion. The first couplet is all stone and ridge, cold and utterly solid. The second pulls us into the dream, warm and liquid and alive. The third dissolves that warmth into vapor and fading starlight over the river. Here is something interesting. The drum and pipe songs were originally military music from the Han court. They were played on drums and wind instruments to announce imperial processions and military campaigns. Meng Jiao took this grand public form and filled it with private heartbreak. It is like writing a love letter on the back of a war proclamation. The poem actually has 2 parts, and we are reading the first one today. The second part deepens the longing, describing the goddess's absence even more sharply. Together, they form a meditation on desire that arrives and vanishes like weather. Meng Jiao's cold style makes the loss feel sharper, not softer. That phrase Hun Duan, soul-breaking, is absolutely quintessential Meng Jiao. He loved words that cut rather than words that soothed, and he never apologized for it. Other Tang poets might say the heart aches. Meng Jiao says the soul snaps in two. That willingness to go to the extreme is exactly what makes him unforgettable. What stays with me long after reading is the final image, the wet robe and the gibbon's echo. The king had his dream, and now he has nothing but cold fabric and a distant howl. It is a poem about the moment right after magic ends. And that moment is the same whether you are a Tang king or anyone waking from a beautiful dream. That was Mount Wuhai, Part 1 by Meng Jiao. If you enjoyed this close reading, consider subscribing for more classical Chinese poetry brought to life in English. Next time we will tackle Part 2, where the longing gets even deeper. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the mountain.
巴山上峡重复重，阳台碧峭十二峰。荆王猎时逢暮雨，夜臥高丘梦神女。轻红流烟溼豔姿，行云飞去明星稀。目极魂断望不见，猨啼三声泪霑衣。